So now we're going to get back to Buffy, and she's going to talk about Winter Moon. All right, let's go.
Well, I love the name of your memoir.
Thank you. Second piece of wrench does, yeah. Read it to know what that story is coming
Now I'm
from.
curious.
Yeah.
Riddle.
Yeah, I don't tell anyone. Start crying. But anyway, it's good. It's all good. So
Okay.
all right. So how did you start on this journey? You were teaching that, doing your retreats and all that. How long ago? Where were you in this?
So it was kind of like this path of self-discovery, right? So it was like inner healing, self-discovery, like who am I? What's going on? I've always been a spiritual person, but I kind of allowed myself to explore more during those years. That was like my late 20s, early 30s. And along that time, somewhere in there, I took a course called Inner Seasons Immersive with my friend Joanna. And they talked about the inner seasons of the womb. And they taught me for the first time in my life that my womb had a cycle. Like I knew I had a period, as we call it, but I didn't know that the whole month I was in this perpetual cycle as long as we're menstruating. And that there are seasons that you could associate with it: winter, spring, summer, fall. And I learned how to nurture and love myself throughout the whole cycle, and what I might need during. So I'll just explain quickly, like the inner seasons are starting with your cycle start date. It's your inner winter. And if you think about winter, it's a time of going in. It's when you're shedding, when you're bleeding. And the archetype that you could associate it with is the crone, the old wise woman. And that's very much how I feel when I'm in that week. Everything kind of has a reflective quality where I'm kind of looking back and evaluating, as I imagine I will when I'm an elder. And then after you're finished with your shed, you move into spring, which is your follicular stage. And that's the young maiden, the blossoming, blooming young maiden, where your energy is starting to come back and your body's preparing to create an egg. And so there's different things you can do in these seasons to minister to yourself, and different foods you can eat. And so I learned all of this. And then you know we'll move into summer, which at some point in that week you'll release an egg, and that's your ovulation. And that's the mother, or some people call the lover archetype, where you're giving, you're creating life. And then you move back into autumn. And if the egg wasn't fertilized, it's your luteal phase, and you're preparing to shed again, to clean out, to make way for the next cycle. And that's the wild wise woman. She's kind of my favorite. And so it was a whole course, and I learned a lot. And then I learned even more through self-study, and I just started to apply these concepts, and it really enhanced the quality of my life. And I'm like, why are we not learning this in school? Why are our young girls not taught these things about our bodies? And, you know, from the time I was young, I didn't feel like I had a place where I fit in fully as a woman in a man's world. You know, like I could find success. I could play by those rules, like the patriarchal rules of how to have business or how to live life. And I could do that. I could push through, but it didn't feel authentic. It didn't resonate. And so rather than trying to fight for my place at the table, which is what I did for many years, at the table of life, I said, you know what? I don't subscribe anymore. I'm going to make a new table. And so that's what we're doing. So we're making a new way, and we're creating a new place. And so this is a woman's place to start. It's a woman's place, and I'm defining what that means, redefining what that means. So Winter Moon is providing sacred space and intentionally curated tools to empower women as they navigate all of the cycles of the womb. So it's not just the menstruation phase, which is usually from like ages 11 till menopause, but we want to minister to women in menopause, women who are trying to conceive, women who have miscarried, women who have had emergency C-sections, young girls getting their first cycle. Like all of these really intense things happen to us because we have wombs in our bodies. And up to now, all of these things are kind of hush hush, taboo, filled with shame. The inner winter, the bleed week itself is seen as dirty, shameful. You keep it discreet. Just pop some Advil and get back to work. There's no space for it in the world as it is now, and we really want to change that. And I think the way to do that is just through awareness, just the same way I explained to you when I became aware that I had a cycle and that I could love myself in certain ways throughout the month and track how I'm feeling with moods and energy level. And I mean, it determines so much for us because we have these hormones that go along with our womb cycle. So when I started to pay attention, I think like awareness is the first step. And so that's what we want to share.